Hi, my name is Faylita Hicks, and I am the author of HoodWitch, which is a collection of poetry published by Acre Books in October 2019. Take a look here. And I am going to read you a few poems today. I want to say thank you to Read Pride for inviting me to do this. And I want to take a moment to let you know that you are important, and I hope that you are taking care of yourself during this incredibly tough time. Um, right, now let's do some poems. The first poem I'm going to read to you is Photo of a Girl, 1988, Cyborg. Somewhere, Carolina. Standing next to Mama, I mimic the exposure of internal systems, revealing an elegant smile creased white in the brunt of my dark face, blue grease slipping down the side of my neck. My sister coils around her leg, a frame bent by mistake, and together we are tent against the grill of the bleeding velvet hood of a trifling, sun-licked Corvette. Mama poses with her hips jut out, with the flesh-eating ammo gossiping beneath the floral print about the irony of carrying a loaded whistle. Hustled down between her copper rings, and Mama slash Queen is hyped next to the hissing machine she will later use to drive us over to Jesus and back to Cali and down to Texas and to drive my daddy's Spectre off a murky dirt road and over to the other unmarried piston-husked men and back to my hologram of a daddy with his lead-filled heart/tongue. And I know what I am and will always be. Something that can and will survive a whole century of hunt. So that's one of my favorite poems in the book. Um, Phone is going off here. The primary reason why it's one of my favorites is because I was trying to find different ways to have a conversation about intergenerational trauma, of course, and how we are. I consider myself non-binary, and so I was trying to find. I was like, what are the other parts of myself that are this and that? I was just trying to look for the intersectional parts of my experience, and of course, one of those is having to do with how young Black people in particular prepare for adulthood, and what that translated to me was. I have to be part machine. I have to be ready. I have to, take some of the emotion out and put some of the machine in order to be prepared to be an adult. And so that's what that poem was trying to address. Next poem we're going to read is a sex poem. Woo, for sex poems. All right. Actually, no, I'm going to read this poem and then I'm going to read a sex poem. Photo of X, 1997, Something Not Right, Fort Hood, Texas. I had been wondering if I was a girl or a boy or just broken, reaching down into myself with a marker. Fix yourself. Mama found me nagging a dictionary and she came, a yawning beluga whale self-launched into the air. Her night dress, a white flame pushed up against the flaps of her breast. Mama came for me. Her lopsided curls, garden snakes unraveling as she flew from my door to myself in the puddle I made with my questions on the floor. She screeched, and a leather face, like a strip of land, clipped my neck, assuaged my back, bitter, tight, nicked the peach behind my knee. My skin hushed itself into a hum of red, and it was the first time I considered bleeding beautiful. I said, fix yourself. But she had to know. There was no fixing myself now. So, this poem is about being caught masturbating in my bedroom. And I came from a, fairly strict Christian background. And so, like, masturbation, pass out, wake up to a ass whipping, essentially is what happened. And that's what had happened. But also the beginning of understanding fetish, um, understanding it's just understanding parts of your sexuality. Like, if I could go back and try to pinpoint a moment when I knew that there were certain things that I would like um in my erotic practice, this is one of those core moments I can come back to, right? Where I was like, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And that's when things start to change for you. I'm always trying to investigate, like, what's the root moment and what's the root cause. And it's a very complex conversation to have, right? I know people are like, oh, but your mom was beating you. And I was like, yeah, I totally get it. But also, like, how very often when people start exploring their sexuality, they start exploring the trauma um, of a thing and the bastardization of that. And so much shame is attached to sexuality. And, I don't have shame. I try not to have shame about my sexuality. And this is one of the first times I can actively remember going, like, I didn't feel bad about what I did. And I mean, even though you gave me a whipping about it, I still didn't feel bad. Like, there was no feeling bad about that. That was the first time in my life I didn't feel shame about having explored myself in that way. So that's it. Let's see, we're good. We're doing good on time. All right, I'm gonna read Fish with Yamaya. Photo of X, 2004. Fish with Yamaya, San Marcos, Texas. She lays me on the coffee table like a bag of oranges, fresh from the farmer's market. Opens me without bothering to wash me off or peel the labels. She digs her fingers into my hair and pushes until I pull apart beneath her, sighing as I cry on her lap quietly, as much as is required. How she kneads me between her lips, how easily against her tongue I round and fracture a slight exhaust of woman. Naturally, there is a ringing in her cavity, not exactly citrus, but what is left of me sinks into her damp, rough swallow, and I am convinced to stay. I can watch the kitchen burn from here. I can listen to the skillet spit, hiss, and holler from the pier for kosher salt, cilantro, and lemon. I can consider the weight of her peppered hands as they swell against the heated wood of my back, conjure cayenne and butter and cumin in my pot. It is easy now to unravel under the return of her mouth to my burning neck, roll my eyes back to the kitchen on fire, and listen to my body take her. An open space of fresh salt water. So, so people ask me very often, like, are these poems true? Are there characters? They're definitely characters. But the characters are based on real people and based on real events. And so, like, obviously my kitchen wasn't actually on fire, but I was definitely on the coffee table. Right? I was definitely cooking fish. So, like, there are poems in here that seem really super, I guess, kind of incredulous, but they're always based in fact and true things. Like the very first poem, I talk about, my parents driving and, driving my daddy Spectre off a dirt road. And yeah, there's actually my parents tried to drive each other off the road. That's a real thing that really happened. And so, like, that's when writing poems, at least for me, the goal is to, how would I tell my story? And this is part of me telling my story is, these are real characters. These are real people to me. But there's also a spiritual connection to that work. And so the last thing I'm probably going to read for you guys, I'm going to go over time. Please don't get mad at me. I'm gonna go over time. Um, the last one I want to read for you today is going to be da 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 da. I'm gonna read a kind of complex poem. You know what? No, I'm gonna read this one. It's not as super complex, but it's also one of the earliest poems in the book. And when I say earliest, I wrote this poem probably a good 9 years ago. So, Concrete Queens. We grazed like deer on the cold corner of Fifth and Trinity, posted up with our contoured cheeks and our matte lips and our yes girl Remy waves on swim with our stacked bodies, stacks on stacks on stacks, our swollen chest, our slim waist, our juicy hips on sleigh, and no one knew the better. We huddled together and prayed to a God who hummed blue and green for anything good. A God who sings and sings forever in our ears and never sleeps and knows all things in line. We stood on the corner, whistled when the light clicked green, then red, then green, without us ever moving, us with the giraffe necks and the ashy ankles, rooted in the filthy concrete, leaning every now and then into traffic. We bit through the rust and paint of the stop sign, chewed through the hours of our youth, glared into the smoking sun, some of us wondering about what we didn't know about. It was why we stood out in the middle of the street, waiting for the screech and halt, the sudden crush of a city college like a fistful of dollars to ride up on our broad backs and clipped hips. We just wanted to know. We were all knowing, yet still without a thought that mattered enough to save ourselves from the clap clap of Gats gone pedestrian. Posted up on the corner of Fifth and Trinity without a confession or anything holy to keep us innocent. We got bored. Shit. We hit the lobbies, hit up the other corners previously occupied by our mothers, but now by our fine asses. Shit. We got to posting up all pictures in the wanted section with our gummy tummies and thighs all primed and ready. How are they going to know what we wanted if we didn't tell them? How were we supposed to catch our break if we didn't bend? We good for constellations like that. Pull from ourselves the shine and pivot for prestige. Make for ourselves a way through the poorly lit theaters of the world. I mean, just last night, World Star came to film us. They heard we would do anything, wanted to know which one of us would twerk for a scholarship. The girls, you don't gotta tell me twice. We were all creative entrepreneurs, except for Zaire. Zaire had to leave, had to go pick up her son, said she'd be back later. And this other girl, whose name I can't remember, called the daughter over, and they did this whole routine like they just knew the lady. They had their own theme song and everything. They got a whole extra stack to do the swallow. Mama on one end, daughter on the other. They gobbled and gobbled till their lips touched, and everyone laughed and hollered. It was fun. But I knew I had to go. I couldn't stay. I grabbed my books and told them I already got mine. This was just pocket money, girl, bye. And the rest lined up against the wall and knocked their backs. I was in a hurry, but I think we all know what happened after that. So, this book is called HoodWitch, and there is a poem called HoodWitch in this book. But that poem in particular is kind of talking about like the experience of coming from a low income background. I was raised in Section 8 housing, like what it means to be considered an at-risk Black young femme teen. And the expectation is that, like, you're going to be a prostitute, or, you're going to we know very young that our bodies are going to be used against us. And Zaire in particular is one of the people I mentioned in the poem. Zaire has to leave to go home to her son, and World Star is asking us to twerk for a scholarship. There was an actual situation where a rapper was like, "I'm gonna give a 10,000 scholarship to the person who twerks the best," and it turned out that the person he gave the scholarship to was the one person who submitted a video where they did not twerk at all. It was just a black woman talking about how she wanted to take care of her son and how she was going to school and she's doing this work, and she won the scholarship. And there's something powerful about being able to acknowledge that we have one expectation for black young films, but black young films will change that expectation every single time. If you think you know what you're about to get, no, you're about to get something completely different. And that's just how we roll. It's also kind of showing that you don't ever underestimate a sex worker, a black young film sex worker. Do not underestimate them. Um, they have thoughts and they have dreams and they have goals. And just because they go about getting it in a different way does not mean it needs to be undervalued. Um, and that's really super important. I have nothing but the utmost respect for sex workers. Um, I have done a form of sex work, though not to the same extent as others. And we get here how we get here, and show love and respect, because you don't know what it takes to get through some of these things. So it's my 2 cents. Definitely over time. Sorry about that, guys. I'm just going to leave you guys with this last little bit. You can check out the rest of the book. You can order a copy from me or online. I do know that an ebook version is available now on Amazon. I'm looking for other alternatives for ebooks. Gotta stay conscious if we can. But you can find also the album. There's a spoken word album called Onyx. It's on bandcamp.com, and Onyx is full of several of the poems from the book Over Music. It's a spoken word album that I created for this book in particular. And you can hear the full HoodWitch poem on there. So hashtag hallelujah to the hood witches, to the shellac clap back and neck roll snaps, the sisters who snatch tracks and dodge ditches. Hashtag blessed be to they two small kitchens. Blessed be they Dollar Tree gumbo. Blessed be they cooks of hot Cheetos. May God smile down and rain money on some of us bitches. Hashtag I'm different. Check out the rest of that stuff at FaylitaHicks.com. I hope you guys have a great day.